Today I want to take you through the core graphical foundation of my Skyrim load order. The set of visual mods that shape the world long before any cities are rebuilt, any new NPCs are added, or any creatures appear. These are the mods that define the mood of the game from the very first steps out of Helgen, and that continue to carry their weight throughout hundreds of hours of play. To keep things structured, I've organized everything into 5 familiar elements: air, fire, earth, water, and greenery. Each group represents one essential layer of the game's appearance, and at the end, we'll look at a handful of bonus mods, smaller, sometimes subtle additions that decorate Skyrim and make it feel fuller, stranger, more alive. Let's begin with the one element that dictates everything else: the air around us. When I talk about air in Skyrim, I'm talking about the ambient atmosphere that surrounds every location, the color of the sky, the clarity of the horizon, the way sunlight falls onto the ground, and the tone that settles over the world in the early morning or late evening. This is where Azurite Weathers and Seasons, paired with Azurite Horizons ENB, becomes the heart of the illusion. Azurite Weathers and Seasons creates an image that is bright without becoming washed out, colorful without crossing into candy-like saturation. The clarity of the atmosphere feels deliberate. The far-off mountains remain distinguishable even under heavy clouds, and mornings often carry a slightly cool, washed blue softness that works wonderfully with Skyrim's architecture. What makes Azurite so convenient is the built-in MCM menu, allowing extensive tweaks to almost every aspect of the weather system. Azurite Horizons ENB completes this vision. It emphasizes soft transitions between light and shade, adds subtle bloom without drowning the scene, and keeps darkness under control. Nights with this preset stay visibly readable, and interior cells don't require you to constantly carry a torch, which for me is a huge quality of life benefit. I enjoy exploring naturally lit spaces, relying on ambience rather than handheld lights. Still, Azurite Horizons has one persistent issue: the fog. Beautiful when used sparingly, oppressive when it appears everywhere. After weeks of fine-tuning, I eventually gave up and resorted to a separate mod that manually suppresses excess fog in problematic regions. If your tastes lean toward deeper shadows and heavier nights, a strong alternative is Nat 3, paired with Cabbage ENB or Rudy ENB. Both combinations offer vivid color palettes with slightly more dramatic contrasts, but they maintain enough clarity to avoid the overly harsh look some ENB presets fall into. Tiny break. If you're still watching, chances are you like Skyrim, or you're trapped somewhere without a back button. Either way, leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and I promise not to add too many mods to your backlog. Fire in this context is all about illumination, how interiors are lit, how shadows are cast, and how cities appear at night. After countless attempts to mix and match lighting mods, I eventually settled on a combination that prioritizes one thing above all: compatibility with everything else. This is why Lux and Lux Orbis became my go-to lighting system. Lux handles interiors with extraordinary care. The author manually places lights in every room, avoiding the common pitfalls of automated solutions. Interiors become more believable. Fires glow gently rather than blasting orange light across the walls. Lanterns illuminate just enough of the floor to guide your steps, and shadows fall where they should. The result is not only more immersive, but more consistent when combined with large settlement overhauls or newly added dungeons. Lux Orbis applies the same philosophy outdoors. Nighttime streets in Solitude, Windhelm, and Whiterun feel designed rather than randomly sprinkled with torches. To complete this trio, I use Embers XD, which replaces every major fire source in the game, Campfires, hearths, ovens, even blacksmith forges, with high-quality, highly detailed models and particle effects. Standing next to a forge or resting near a campfire becomes a small visual pleasure rather than a background necessity. If the air shapes the atmosphere and fire shapes the lighting, then Earth is all about the physical world under your feet, the stones, the dirt, the mountains, the caves, and the roads that carry you from hold to hold. In my current setup, the backbone of all these surfaces is Vanaheimr landscapes. This is one of the most realistic landscape texture packs available for Skyrim with multiple options. The textures are crisp but natural, detailed but not distractingly noisy. They blend effortlessly into most lighting setups, and they make the exterior world feel grounded and cohesive. On top of that, for rocks and mountains, I use tomato slate mountains textures. I can't really justify this choice. I just like them. A lot. If you prefer a unified style by a single author, Tomatoes Landscapes is an excellent alternative to Vanaheimr, offering a photorealistic approach with broad coverage across Skyrim, Dawnguard, and Dragonborn regions. Skyrim's roads are often overlooked, and yet they occupy a huge portion of the screen as you travel. After testing most major options, I discovered that I prefer a path that deviates from the common choices. Instead of blended roads or full northern roads, I settled on dirt roads for Skyrim, which transforms all major paths into grounded, earthy tracks. This brings a sense of unity, whether you're climbing up to Solitude or walking the plains of Whiterun. The roads feel consistently rugged and believable. To refine their appearance further, I added the rocky mossy texture, giving them a slightly rougher, moss-speckled look that fits both tundra and forest regions. For lighting and clutter, I rely on Lux Via, which adds lanterns, signposts, and structural details to roads across the province. But I also missed the charming hand-placed objects from northern roads, barrels, carts, and subtle visual storytelling elements. Instead of loading the full mod and dealing with endless patching nightmares, I use northern roads, only clutter and tweaks, which preserves the decorative elements without altering terrain or bridges. After wrestling with northern roads patches for far too long, this solution felt like a personal miracle. Once you descend below the surface, the world changes tone entirely. To keep things consistent, I use Vanaheimr, mines and caves, created by the same author as the landscape textures. This continuity ensures that caves feel naturally connected to the world above instead of belonging to a different visual style. For ore veins, two strong options exist: Vanaheimr ore veins or Praedy's ores and ingots. I use Praedy's, which brings out the metallic shine and texture in a very pronounced way, though unfortunately the mod is temporarily offline on Nexus. As an alternative to Vanaheimr caves, Tomatoes cave textures are also superb. Finally, for icy caverns, Icy Cave Remaster is an absolute must. It sharpens ice geometry, corrects numerous vanilla mesh issues, and adds a depth effect that makes frozen surfaces appear genuinely three-dimensional. Water defines mood in ways players rarely notice consciously. In my load order, the definitive option is Water for ENB, which produces realistic reflections, natural wave simulation, and a subtle translucency that works beautifully with most ENB presets. The author provides enough customization to satisfy both performance-focused players and visual purists. If you prefer something simpler and lighter on patches, Simplicity of Sea is a good alternative. Coastal waves are handled by GKB Waves Reborn, which remains the only truly satisfying wave effect mod. The foam, the motion, and the directionality all work well without noticeable performance impact. Waterfalls, however, gave me more freedom to experiment. I currently use the waterfall visuals included with Water for ENB and enhance them with WAVY Waterfalls effect for soft ripple distortion and rainbows over waterfalls for occasional subtle rainbow arcs. Snow is governed by Better Dynamic Snow 3, which provides unified snow coverage across surfaces and integrates well with landscape textures. Ice, though, relies heavily on mesh quality, and for that, Icy Mesh Remaster is indispensable. On top of those meshes, I use Skyrim Remastered, Glaciers, and Ice IMR Edition, which delivers semi-transparent, depth-rich ice that feels cold and layered rather than flat. A solid alternative is Glaciers Lab, which takes a more stylized approach. For extra atmosphere, animated Ice Floes adds gentle motion to small chunks of ice drifting near the shore. Larger animated icebergs exist too, but in practice their movement is barely noticeable, so I leave them out. Greenery is where customization becomes endless. Grass, shrubs, flowers, saplings. You can tweak all of them individually if you have the patience. My base grass overhaul is Freak's Floral Fields. It's heavy, yes, but the density, variation, and depth it provides are unmatched. The tundra can be crisp and golden or lush and green, depending on the chosen option. And forests can range from moderately overgrown to deeply wild. To complement it, I use Waterplants, adding subtle aquatic flora along rivers and lakes. On top of this foundation, I install numerous cathedral plant mods to refine individual flowers and shrubs. For trees, the backbone of my forest setup is Nature of the Wild Lands, likely the most ambitious tree overhaul currently available. It introduces dozens of unique tree models, creating forests that feel genuinely alive and diverse. Yes, it's performance heavy, but for me, the trade-off is absolutely worth it. To fine-tune specific regions, I add several more mods. Snowier spruce trees increases the snowy coverage in winter biomes, giving them a colder, more frosted appearance. Alpine forest of Whiterun Valley enhances the tundra with additional pines, subtly shifting the mood toward a harsher environment. Bent pines adds those solitary, wind-twisted trees that stand alone on hills, perfect for dramatic silhouettes at sunset. And around Falkreath, Maerchenwald introduces a handful of enormous, fantastical trees that give the forest an otherworldly hint without overpowering the landscape. Finally, I want to highlight a set of smaller mods that add unique details across Skyrim. They don't redefine the visual identity of the world, but they enrich it, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically. Along the river, Karth, detailed landscapes, Karth River rock spires, creates towering stone pillars that form a kind of natural maze, occasionally connected with narrow bridges. The effect is striking and makes the region feel more geologically distinctive. In the swamps of Hjalmarch, detailed landscapes, Morthal, introduces exotic flora that reinforces the region's eerie, humid atmosphere. Combined with graveyards of the marshlands, which add small cemeteries and burial markers, the marshes feel darker and more mysterious without slipping into Halloween territory. Rorikstead, often overlooked, gets a much-needed visual identity boost through basalt cliffs, which surrounds the settlement with jagged formations that make it feel like a real place rather than a placeholder. Further north, the coastlines gain monumental skeletal remains via whale bones on coasts, adding a sense of danger and mythology. And inland, the frozen wastes come alive with the ancient remains introduced in ancient Atmaran remains, not entirely lore accurate perhaps, but visually spectacular. Finally, 3 mods, Ancient Land, Interesting Roads, and Unmarked Locations pack, scatter small landmarks, ruins, shrines, camps, and curiosities throughout the entire province. They don't change the main landscape, but they dramatically enhance exploration, making every journey feel unpredictable and full of discovery. And that's the core of my visual Skyrim, the baseline that everything else builds on. These are the mods that define the world before any NPC overhaul, settlement rework, or new creature even enters the scene. In upcoming videos, I plan to cover similar overviews for enemies, bandits, reachfolk, Falmer, as well as separate episodes for NPC redesigns, followers, and settlements. And of course, I'll continue mixing in my regular roundups of new releases from Nexus, just as I've always done. Thanks for watching, and happy modding.